Hey everyone, welcome to Biconomy Talks. Today I'm thrilled to look closer to the world of decentralized socials and Web3 innovation with Crimson Clad, a core operations leader, educator, and growth builder at Hive. Hive is a decentralized, scalable, high-speed blockchain with zero fees and near instant transactions. Built on a dual coin economy where Hive powers all transactions and governance, while Hive-backed dollars, HBD, provides stability and savings. Participants can stake Hive to earn up to 20% in rewards and earn 15% APR on HBD. Hive was born in March 2020 when a hostile takeover threatened to centralize another blockchain. The community forked the chain and created a network owned by no one and governed by everyone. Crimson Clad has been at the heart of this movement and brings years of experience as a graphic artist turned Web3 educator and operations liaison. Hi, Crimson. Welcome. How is this year treating you so far?
It is good. Any year that we are above ground and enjoying the sunshine is a good one. So everybody's still here. Lots on the horizon coming down. So
Exciting. Yeah, I'm still feeling very optimistic about everything, even with this shaky start for 2026. But let's go to the start. I like to start this conversation because I feel like everybody has always an interesting story on how people came across blockchain or crypto or Web3, however we define it. How was your story, or how much you can share of life prior to that? What was the moment that you came across this universe of technology and innovation? And then lead me on your pathway to Hive.
yeah, absolutely. So I am not really a numbers girl, or I wasn't. And I'm huge into art and storytelling. I'm really interested in disruptive tech, but I was not, let's just say I wasn't the best at math in school. Economics never interested me. Finance was not my thing.
Wow.
That's fine. As somebody from Vancouver, Vancouver's a big Ethereum town. And so very early on, probably 2014, 2015-ish, there were rumblings about this cool digital thing. And so I did. I bought some Ethereum because my friends had it. And I understood the concept of it. I did. And so then with the rumblings of that and talking to people who kind of were in that, I found out that one of the first public Bitcoin ATMs was in Vancouver as well at the Waves downtown. So I bought some Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, I sort of got it. Like Bitcoin for me, not that Ethereum didn't do it, but Bitcoin was the first time where I was like, this is my money and there's nothing else anybody can take from me. I control it. I can hide it. I can share it. I can send it. That part I got. That part interested me inherently. So as I was going on, I was starting to look for different ways. Where can I get it? Who wants to use it? Where are these people gathering? And that ended up actually leading me to a legacy blockchain called Steam, where
Uh-huh.
people were posting content and earning crypto. And I was a little skeptical, but I hated Facebook. I hate social media in general. It drives me nuts. It's full of
Why is
dark
that?
patterns. It's really manipulative. But I want to share my art and my pictures and my travel. Like it's a weird disconnect. So I thought, okay, I'm going to share content on a blockchain. I'm going to try to earn some crypto because crypto is really cool. And that was it. That was the magical mix of factors that made everything like just twig for me. So I started on the Steam blockchain, and that taught me a lot because as I was posting and I was earning these tiny rewards, I was like, okay, but where does this come from? Is this magic money from the sky? So I started learning about block production and I started learning about rewards and tokenomics. And that opened up a whole door of, well, I should probably understand the code a bit. So I started doing a code review. And once I did that, I thought, well, okay, it actually looks like it's not that hard to run a node. I'm going to run a node.
Mm.
And so my journey started as a content creator and it very rapidly just devolved or evolved, I would say. So I became a consensus block producer and I became really involved with building community and helping other people figure this out. Because for me, it was not the money side of things. That helped, but it wasn't the thing that sort of lit my soul on fire. And this was a combination of where people were getting together, content of all types, from the most highbrow to lowbrow, discussions, friendships, and yes, a totally parallel economy, a circular economy. That was it. And then Steam was attacked. And that I'm sure we'll get into over the course of our talk, but that was this really catalyzing event where the people who really believe in decentralization and the things they had built and ownership and all of the things that are most important at the heart of crypto said, we're not going to go along with this. We're going to fork. We're going to take all our history. We're going to take all our value, everything that we have, and we're going to launch a brand new chain. And we're going to cut out the centralized aspects and we're going to go forward. And that's where Hive came from. And so ever since, obviously, I was heavily involved with that, but so was a huge swath of the community. Hive was one of the first and only legacy chains to fork away from, its original code base and not just outperform, but outlast price action, everything. And it's still doing that to this day. So it's been a really interesting ride, but a lot of it is that it is a different approach to learning about and using and adopting crypto into your life that isn't always crypto first. And I think we're really ripe for a resurgence of that right now.
Wow. Okay. Let me unpack a few details of that. No, I love it. I love it. One thing I find it curious is, and I want to highlight make the remark of getting Bitcoin as digital currency and getting into that and the feeling of this is my money. It's here. It's safe. And the next step, probably because you had been in contact with Ethereum already, of there is intrinsic value in everything that's happening, mining blocks, the proof of work at a time that became proof of stake, all the people
Yes.
involved, a lot of researchers and new tech being created. There is value. It pisses me off when I hear people say there's no intrinsic value to any of these digital currencies. But that is usually a huge entry barrier to most of the people. And you got it it sounded instantly. And then it makes it easy and you went deep, like looking into how to, getting the blocks in and mine them or whatever you were running the nodes. That's going deep. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I do remember Steam. I don't recall what happened and all the details. I was probably focused on somewhere else, unfortunately, because it sounds like a very interesting story. But let's get more details to that. So
Sure.
yeah, interesting that Hive is a fork that improved what was there before, right? It's kind of an
It's
upgrade, an
unprecedented.
evolution. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, just if you can just, so I'm not lost in everything that happened. You mentioned an attack. What happened to Steam
Yeah.
that pushed Hive to we need to do this? It's not a takeover. It's not a group of people just saying we disagree with what's happening. Is this direction doesn't suit us anymore? But was there any risk? Were you guys looking and saying we're at risk here? We need to change things.
Yes and no. So, an attack is a very purposeful word. I use that purposefully, but it's not quite the way that we would anticipate one today. So, it wasn't that somebody ran into a data center with a wrench. It wasn't necessarily, but it was a very concerted attack on governance. So, Hive is a delegated proof of stake blockchain. And in a lot of cases, that is actually very difficult to take over because there's such a wide distribution
Yeah.
of coins to wallets, huge amount of wallets, huge amount of coins. And in the case of a lot of launches, depending on how they're launched, there may be people with more coins or not. And they have a big impact on governance. Now, with Steam, and I'll point anybody who wants to do reading on this in the future. You can go to hive.io, which is the Hive website, and there are articles, there are news articles from the time if you want to do a deep dive on this. But I'll give you the TLDR version. And that is that when Steam was created, it was actually created by a company. So we had the Steemit platform, which was a social blog, proof of concept of the blockchain, the Steem blockchain, and it was created by Steemit Inc. It's a little confusing. But Steemit Inc. were the creators and the programmers, and they had a massive pre-mine. And up to that point, it wasn't problematic because they were just using it for development. They didn't vote on governance. They didn't do anything. They just had it as their fund to continue developing the blockchain. But alongside that, the community had flourished. Some of the biggest blockchain games in the world had been created. Most of all of the existing social front ends had been created. Common users and community members and witnesses were building a huge amount of tools and were helping to contribute to core code. All of this, we're maintaining the blockchain. So Steemit Inc. was really just working on core code, but they had this big pre-mine. And at the time, the founder of Steem, Ned, decided to make a deal with Justin, son of Tron. So I'm sure you guys all know that fellow. And he said, hey, I'll sell you my company, I'll sell you the code base, and I will sell you this heckin' big pot of
Mm.
coins. I will sell you the pre-mine. And I suppose the deal was, and the idea was at the time, Justin Sun was looking for any blockchain, and he got a couple at that time, to make them as delivery vehicles for Tron. He wanted people to see that Tron has tons of users. What he saw was, here is a social blockchain full of a ton of humans, and they are manually every day distributing new coins to new users. This is the model. This is how it works. I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to attach Tron to it. Look at this. My community will grow. That's not what happened. So he
Yeah.
got the pre-mine. There was some contentious back and forth of what are your intentions? Like, people have businesses. This is a truly decentralized blockchain regardless. And he immediately used that large fund to create his own block producers, take over the entire block production roster. And then there was a giant fight. Everybody on one side, the community, powering up as much stake as they could get their hands on, voting back and forth. There was this crazy time. Vitalik commented on it. It was in all the news cycles. The community versus Justin Sun, getting more and more voting. Who's going to take over the consensus? And then we got down to the nitty gritty. There was no stake left to buy. Everybody had it locked for governance. And so Justin Sun pulled a really nasty card. And that was, he went to Binance, Huobi, and Poloniex at the time and said, hey, listen, the blockchain's under attack. All of the customers' funds that you have on your exchanges, please power it up, vote for my block producers. We'll take over the code, and then we'll
Mm.
change it, and we'll make it liquid again. Well, that's exactly what happened. He essentially hijacked a ton of non-consenting people's coins from exchanges with basically a lie. And that was sort of the end of the fight. There was nothing else that the community could do. And at that point, what do? You basically say, okay, we give up, we use what your platform, we stay here. Or we say, well, we believe in this so strongly. We love what we've built. We've got a history of already half a decade. There's no guarantee this will be worth anything, but you know what? Keep it. Keep your blockchain. You want the people, you want the community. You can't buy a community. We will do our own thing. And so we forked off, and it was terrifying at that time because with all these talks with him, with the community, there was this fear of, we've built this beautiful thing that is valuable, that holds time and content and relationships and all of the stuff that an open social graph, you know, has in value, is held in this blockchain, and we could kill it, or we could fail and it will be worth nothing. And so we did. We forked away, and almost everyone came. And
That's
ever since then, it is fully grassroots. It is open source, full and open source, maintained by community, run by community. And that contentious pot of coins that was the pre-mine from Steam in Hive was moved to a fully permissionless, trustless account, which became our DAO, which is controlled totally by governance voting. And there's no one that has access to it. There is no foundation in control of it. There are no keys to that wallet, and it is there and can never be used for governance voting. So the people who are using the chain, their history, their everything, they've taken it forward. And now the code base is so unrecognizable. In the 5 years that Hive has continued to run on top of that, so a decade worth of history, the community has grown, the chain has continued on, and the code base is so much more advanced now. And almost all of the legacy code has been moved away. So they truly are two different chains now. And so our history and our story is really important. Where we came from is really important. But it is just where we came from now. It's no longer who we are. We are a totally separate chain. And there are probably some people who may still use the other one. For me, that's not the type of place that I'd like to be. And the things that are happening on Hive are so exciting. So it is a wild story. And I get that's not that short, but there's a lot of reading you can do on it. It was really interesting. And at the time, it really opened up the question to everyone is, how should exchanges and centralized custodial aspects, how should they handle governance? How should they handle acting on behalf of customers? And it has never happened since. It was the most unprecedented 51% attack in the world, and there has never been anything like it since.
Well, yeah, so many parts.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And I'll add the following. This is a piece of blockchain history that
Hmm.
everybody should learn about, because there are a few things that, just by listening to you explaining this to me right now, I'm thinking, first of all, I understand the business part of, oh, I'm building the stack. I want to bring a community. I have, economic power to buy a community that already exists.
Hmm.
But the idea of you're purchasing the environment where that community flourished, it's not enough to get the community to come to you. You need to embrace it. You cannot kidnap it, because people will leave, of course.
What a great term, kidnap. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is
For
kidnapping in a
ransom.
way, right?
Yep.
And but also when it comes to um, all these levels of pre-mined tokens, or the moment of TGs and token launches, and that we save, there's projects back that needs to be there for future fundraisers, or even to fuel the system if needed. We understand there are some good reasons, but it's a very sensitive topic that people need to be careful with when
Yes.
executing, and you should not use as a lever against your own community. But
Yeah.
then the reason I think this is interesting, and I suggest everyone that comes across this conversation to go and read more into it, especially if you're a community leader or active in any community, is you should never be hostage of a community. You're there because you want. You're active there, and it's counterintuitive in my mind for a business that wanted to use this to grow faster and actually ended up losing all that community. And, you know, I think it leaves kind of a negative, kind of a stain in the whole thing
It did,
for,
for sure.
for what remained over there. I want to ask you some of other things, but I want to comment on, and I know that we'll probably get into more details of this, but you know, the main thing of decentralized socials is that you own your social graph and you can move it whenever you need it. So nobody can take it over, right?
That's
It
right.
doesn't belong to a platform, doesn't belong to anybody else. The other thing that you grasped, in the beginning, and I would like us to extend it at certain point, is there's a huge difference between ad based profit social networks and this tipping culture, or
Hmm.
I will give you a short tip, or if I give you a like, it costs me micro cents or cents or a microtransaction. But this avoids this platform, or whatever platform we're discussing, to need to use ads to pay the bills.
That's right.
So it fuels the system too. Okay. Now, before we get into these more details, because this is mostly for us to understand better of Hive and how it exists, but
Hmm.
you tell the story really well. How did you get to this point of, not only remain involved over all these years, and I'm sure that you were one of the main contributors for this community to survive and to keep flourishing, but this position of, you know, keeping in all the knowledge and the history, and of course you live through it, but remember the details and intricacies, and be careful on how you tell the story because it involves other parties. How did you get to this role? And I mean, you're a face that we always see when we research about Hive.
Condolences. Yeah. Um, it's and I'm hesitant to sort of be that, because there is no one person that encapsulates Hive. And the second that you go on the blockchain, and even if you go back through my posting history, there is this really interesting thing where I started out incredibly active from the chain side of things, and I actually started out anonymous. If you go way back, because you guys can do it, I voluntarily put these stories and photos onto a public blockchain. I had my face hidden, and the idea was I want to come here and I want to tell stories. Storytelling is how we learn. It's how we express value. It's how we shape taste. It's how we shape communities. It's always been my goal in my meat sack life, and here on the blockchain, and with everything I do. And that, as I started doing it as part of helping growth and business development and developer relations, even, you'll see my public facing storytelling went. But then I started doing more and more like this, going to conferences, talking to developers, doing this sort of work. And the more time I spent doing this, the less time I had for that, which is fine. But somewhere in the middle, I actually was running live radio shows, helping people on chain learn about on chain. And that really gave me practice in, being able to talk to people, meet them where they're at. But a lot of it is really Hive does a lot, but what it really at the heart of it is built for connection. It's built for people to talk to people or people to talk to bots or whatever. But inherently, the first motto from the code base was proof of brain. I don't really care what you're posting, who you're talking to, but I would like to go around and the things that, you know, work for me, that get me thinking, those are the things I'm going to like. I'm going to upvote them. I'm going to comment on them. And it really did. It shaped friendships and it shaped even adversarial relationships. We have people who love to hate. And that's a great test of a strong community and even strong apps and strong platforms is you have haters. If you don't have haters,
Yeah.
you don't have any grounding, you don't have any useful actionable criticism, but you also haven't done anything. There is no way that you can do anything without attracting somebody who's like, don't like it. So those voices are still welcome in our community at varying levels and all these different ways of seeing them, engaging with these conversations and content. It helps you just be able to express yourself really well. And as time goes on, that's exactly how it happened. I've told this story a million times and I can't embellish it. I can't lie about it. The history's on a public blockchain. Every outlet in the world decrypt and everybody was writing about it. There are tweets about it. Like, it's keeping me honest. That's the other option of a blockchain, right? Is anybody can go check the ledger and see exactly how it went down. You can look through the history of the voting back and forth, and all of that is available.
And it's immutable. You can fake
It's
it.
immutable. It's censorship resistant, and it's shared by everybody around the world. So that's sort of how I'm here. But it also just became a real passion of mine because Hive itself, in a lot of ways, reflects how people work. Where people gather is where marketplaces form. And so all of the things that I think are the best shots that we have at making the world better, making financial life better, making social media better, they're all tied up in what people will build voluntarily on a blockchain or attached to a blockchain, hybrid models, businesses that use features that are equitable for them and their clients, or the crazy cypherpunks who are going to build something that no one can touch that is completely off the radar. That whole spectrum exists. And that's where the world is going. And I want to be part of that. But also, I want to be around all the people who are building it right now. And so many of them are in the Hive ecosystem. So for me, that's really these next couple years is we already have the history. We already have the people. The tech is awesome. The hard part is breaking down tribalism and saying, hey, listen, your blockchain does this really well. Our blockchain does this really well. Here are the places there's synergy. Let's create something new or whatever that looks like. But there's a connective tissue that Hive provides that really doesn't exist anywhere else. And I think that's really important to kind of help people grasp. And just saying it's good tech, it's not going to cut it.
Yeah, I want to hear more about that. I have a few questions to better understand that because I fully agree. I think that we should be building more bridges instead of walls,
Yes.
right? Instead of fences. And it is probably a human psychological thing of it's easier to hate. People manifest their complaints more than they manifest their compliments, I guess.
100%.
Um, yeah, and that's why it's more palpable. Okay, if nobody's complaining or if you don't have a little bit of criticism in your way, are you hiding? Where is that? I noticed the nudge of the competition on decentralized social. I want to get more into that, but before, uh, let's understand. We already touched where Hive came from with the fork from his team,
Mhm.
but what's the reason for it to be? And the community was there, a lot was built, but again, this community could have migrated somewhere else, right? Could have split into different platforms, but it held together and it kept building on top of the same chain.
Yeah.
Um, that's probably there's an essence or some kind of soul of spirit that is the glue for that kept it going to this moment. What is that?
Well, I mean, it is. It's very we can say it's very woo woo because if you ask a lot of people around the chain, they will just be like, I don't know, I never left. And I think part of that is when you are in such a nasty situation as this takeover, because for a lot of people, they were having their assets frozen on both sides because it was a centralized blockchain. Lots of things were happening. There was this crucible moment where you ran through the fire together and you came out on the other side. You built this fluttering baby bird and let it go. Um, I do. I think there is. I was going to say there's value in suffering, which is such a horrible thing to say, but it's the human experience, right? We cannot have consistent joy. We must have hardship. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. It's unfortunately how we are nudged to solve problems. All of the things that sort of came with this, it was horrible. And in another alternate universe, I do wish that it just never happened and the blockchain carried on the way it did. But I know in my heart, actually, no, because so many of the things and the choices that were made align us so much more strongly with where the world was going. I looking at the history of what's happened with the chain in the past, the legacy chain, the worries about ossification, the worries about not really actually having a vision from the community or listening to the community and just saying, we built the thing works, it's going. We'll just let it go forever. That wasn't enough. But a lot of it is, and I will say, outside of the spiritual aspect, it is the tech. Social is this sort of last bastion. The meta has come around. 5 years later, it's come back again. And we still haven't cracked it, except these long running communities. And part of it is the understanding that while it is yucky to think about tokenomics where there is, too much inflation or, these things that are financially not viable in a specific hard store of value currency, when you are trying to build an economy, you need more participants. So, how are you distributing coins? How are you allowing for people who don't have an equitable access into the market? How are you allowing them to start learning using the products? How are you building brand loyal, um, you know, community? And a lot of that comes from there are no per transaction fees on Hive. It is feeless because social, it does not make sense. Even if it's a 0.00000001 of a penny, I don't care. I'm not spending that to like a picture of a cat. It's not going to happen. This is my behavior on the internet. It is shaped. It is within us now. You can't change that. You can't go backwards from that. And also, a lot of blockchain social media is slow and Hive is near instant. And that is really great for infrastructure for gaming, obviously, for messaging, for hey, I just want to send a couple bucks because I read your blog. I saw your video. It was really cool. I tipped you a little bit. I sent a like, which actually distributed some rewards to you, not from my own wallet. And now I want to challenge you to a game on Splinterlands. And we're going to go meet over there with our wallet addresses. You beat me. I'm going to send you a card. All of this stuff happens within under a second. It's instant. It feels like the internet that you're used to. And that was a critical part. It was so hard for somebody who had experienced like these types of games, these types of socials, these types of messaging to then go somewhere where, you had to wait for X amount of confirmations and the fees fluctuated like crazy. So you've got this really snappy comeback, but you're watching the gas fee meter to make sure it doesn't wipe your wallet. Very difficult friction. And I know we're in the age now where that has largely been removed, but it's still a lot of the experiences are not friendly.
It needs to
And
be
so Hive is
intuitive.
really interesting in that the tech is friendly. It's also
Perfect.
complex. We have our own problems too, for sure.
Well, it's a good sign. If it's too simple, it's probably not so strong. Yeah, but it needs to be intuitive. It's weird. There are still some things, some
Mhm.
corners of blockchain services that you need to leave it loading for a few seconds or a few minutes, and then you get distracted doing something else, and that doesn't feel so safe. And
Mhm.
okay. So we touched the point that Hive is feeless for most of the
Yes.
transactions, for social transactions. Um, what was the other thing? Near instant transactions, so really
That's right.
fast.
Yep.
Fantastic. That needs to be because human interactions, if you either in person or online, they are instant.
Yep.
what else is there? Because it's a huge ecosystem. I know there's the blog, there's a ton of content creations in all its forms, and there's gaming. What's the framework? Let's structure this. When you think of Hive and Hive's ecosystem, what comes to in front of you?
The easiest way to understand it as like somebody outside looking in is that it is a huge instant database of information. So yes, it has a cryptocurrency attached and I can send money around. But the things that are valuable is text information. And that is what the blockchain holds at the base layer right next to your crypto. So your money transactions, the dollars or the Hive that you send back and forth, right there on layer one, you can see it in the block explorer. The information that you voluntarily choose. There's no KYC, there's no identification. Anyone can access, read, write, use the blockchain. It's held there as well. So, these are the things that centralized databases, whether they are games, whether they are banks, whether they're social media, they use that as product. They bring you in and you don't get a choice. They tell you, you have to give us this information, and then they sell it. Whereas the opposite, Hive is an open ledger. You can think of it as a database. You can put anything into it you want as a blockchain transaction. That's up to you. We have some people who are fully anonymous and they use it for encrypted, messages back and forth between wallets. We have people who are public personas. They use it with their real name and real face. They publish long essays that have date and key verification to their identification that links out to other blockchain identities and everything in between. Because Hive understands that value isn't only financial. And that's the first time that we've had infrastructure that takes advantage of that and gives it back to the user, which is huge. It's huge. Exactly what you think you feel you want attached to your wallet address publicly, you put it there, and now you have this proven version of it, this verified version of it, a history that goes back as long as you want it to. And it's your choice. The relationships that you build, if you and I connected on Hive on one platform and it went down, we could go to another. And all of our transaction history between each other is still there, that connection. I wouldn't just lose you because Elon decided one day I had some wrong think and he lost all my following. And now I can't find the conversation that you and I were having about something. That will never happen on Hive. And that is incredibly valuable. And so you're mentioning earlier how, that intrinsic value behind blockchain is not always something that people pick up on. Once you start using a blockchain that just says, hey, what do you want to do today? Let's go do it. You start understanding how few aspects of your life you have that type of control in. It's really awesome, but it also really mimics human behavior. If I don't want to interact with somebody, I won't. If I don't want to attach something to my identity, public or private, I won't. But I also do have a fully public record of the things that I've done that matter to me. They are a history, they are an identity, they are almost a form of KYC for the real world. They're a web of trust, and they represent something that isn't a piece of plastic handed to me by a network state. It's not my personal health details. But you also know, as Crimson Clad, for 10 years, I have been working inside this ecosystem, development contributions, community contributions. I have a sterling reputation I've built, and you don't need to know my name or where I live or whatever, but the pedigree comes with me. And this is where, in a new world where we have really heavy privacy tech, and we also have AI tech that allows anybody to fake KYC. KYC means nothing. It's a honeypot now. It's either fake or it is a huge attack vector. How do we start deciding who we hang out with, who the people we trust are? What does that look like? And in this case, that is where a public voluntary identity really slots into this, the world that we're entering.
Yeah, this is the concept that was, as you were speaking, it was blinking in my head
Yeah,
of, even as an anonymous profile, you can't be impersonated,
yeah,
because everything that you're doing, and you're the only one that can sign a message with that profile. So even
yeah,
if there are 500 new ones that fake your existence better than you exist, you're still the only one that can say, hey, I'm the original and I can prove it. Everybody else is an imposter. And
100%.
in the world of AI agents, and fake reality is more convincing than real reality sometimes. This will come to be, besides the major privacy discussion that we'll have, because now everything's merging And there are so many paradigms that we need to shift because most of the people are not going to do the hard work of understanding everything that we're discussing here
Yeah.
and looking into. And that's fine. That's how things happen. It needs to be intuitive and natural for people to use all this tech, but it's good for them to understand that you don't need to be bombarded with ads with anything that you use in life. You don't need to have people that you don't know coming to you, knowing your name and your phone number and your home address and so on and so forth, or that all your financials are public or easy to access. No,
Yeah.
right? There are ways of still existing and still preserving the things you like and living your life and regaining your time and your values without having to be a victim of the system as it is.
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I think we didn't touch. Okay, I wanna understand a quick detail on the rewarding system and how
Sure.
is the community voting now, because
Hmm.
I think these are strengths that Hive has that improved on top of older chains, and this will fuel some of the questions that I want us to kind of expand to the
Sure.
current ecosystem.
Yeah. So the reward system is very similar to if you think about how blockchains work now. Where how do you get new coins? Right? You can't always just go to an exchange and buy new coins. There's an issuance schedule for every coin. Everybody is very familiar with Bitcoin. That's the one that most people know about because they know about the halving. They think about, oh, the rewards for mining a block are this, and they extend over time, and every 4 years they cut in half. So in the Hive ecosystem, some of those rewards go to block producers. Same deal. Some of those rewards get channeled into that DAO, that fund that is available for voting and distribution. And the rest of the funds go into something we call the reward pool. And it is basically part of the inflation that is distributed to new wallets or to old wallets, to any wallet. And it is controlled solely by on chain voting. Likes that happen day to day around the platform, whether long form content, short form content, videos, games, you name it, transactions that go into the blockchain can be basically voted on. We call them likes. They look like likes. You could come along and you could say, hey, listen, I have this much stake in my account. So I have skin in the game. And I like this a lot. And I would like to see some of the new Hive go to that because I like it. And if lots of people agree, you'll get, like a hit post and it will gain some rewards. Now, one of the important things to say is there is work that is done. People go out and they say, I'm looking for cool content. You can't have a platform that only rewards creators or only has one side of the equation that is getting rewards. Why would I come around and vote? So for a lot of people, the most sort of easy concept to understand is like Reddit. You go around, you upvote the stuff you like, and all of a sudden, all the content on the site under any topic is sorted by most popular to least popular. That's similar to how content and things like that can be voted on the Hive platform. But half of the rewards go to the people who are voting. So if you're not a content creator, because most people aren't, you still have an opportunity to essentially kind of mine some Hive day to day. If you're going around, you're finding content that's either trending or you're finding content that you personally like, you're engaging with it, you can comment on it. Maybe you'll earn something from the author for a comment or from someone else. And also, when you are distributing Hive, you are actually getting some back as well. And so in this way, you're not going to become rich. People are like, oh, you can't do that. It's not huge amounts of money. But what it is it's looking at, look, here's a valuable transaction that on any other platform, the platform holder would be earning a lot of money from. In this case, we want these people, we want that value recognized. Here are some Hive, like 100%. These wallets have it. And so it's really interesting because as you look at the distribution over time of Hive, it is crazy to see how many wallets have some. And there are many people who have a little bit who have never spent, any money, but have gotten in and have started to build up stake. And they hold it very dear. They don't immediately dump it because they worked hard for it and it has become a voice in the ecosystem and they use it to buy things or whatever. But it's very interesting. So there's more than 2.5 million wallets that I believe is the count right now.
It's a good number.
And the amount of distribution is huge, we also really don't have any gigantic whales. Like you'll see in a lot of cases in new ecosystems, people with 20, 30% and up allocations. In our ecosystem, people who have been here for 10 years who have spent, tons of money may still only be in the like 8% range, and they're considered our biggest whales ever. So it's a really different dynamic in terms of how many people actually hold and use Hive in a bunch of different ways. But the key aspect is distribution. If somebody wants to get into the ecosystem, they can buy in, they can earn in. There's some form of value that's transacted. They are they're kind of brought into the day-to-day of making sure that it's not just a centralized coin and that people everywhere are able to use it. And it's not that you have to be from the right country or the right socioeconomic status or go through the right KYC on the right exchange to be allowed to participate.
Perfect. I keep circling back to attention economy, gig
Uh-huh.
economy, because it's easier to play around with something digital than actually get your hands dirty
Yeah.
on certain things in general. But now we're evolving to a lot of automation. Not it, we don't even need to think about AI agents or learning and automating through AI. There's a lot of simple automation that we can do today that creates some kind of content,
Hmm.
probably low quality.
Yeah.
It also creates behavior. And I can have my own profile. I exist, but I can, either through APIs or through other type of connectivity, I can automate part of my behavior, my online
Sure.
behavior, because I want to do, I don't know, one comment per minute.
Yeah.
And that spams ecosystems, right?
That's right.
It's a busy timeline with a lot of things that well, I feel like that when I got into, I'm not going to, I don't want to generalize the whole thing, but
Hmm.
crypto Twitter, which is now X, I used to feel, oh, I always get there, I get the news, I follow the right people, I try. And nowadays there are so many bots and so many commentaries and ghost accounts. And so I feel I don't even trust what I'm seeing. I need to double
Yeah.
check everything. How do you prevent from that? Because there's a not so large, but there is a financial incentive of collecting tokens, or I want to make my bag as
Yeah.
large as I can.
100%. And so the answer is you don't. But that's not the end of that answer.
Okay.
Having an open access blockchain means that anybody can and should be able to access it. And if somebody does want to start posting, let's just say they make an AI bot and their goal is, I want to comment, hey, to everybody that posts, and I'm going to make money. I am so sad to tell you, she's not going to work like this. So there's a couple different things. Yes, Hive is feeless, but the way that it works is your account has resource credits in the background. The blockchain is constantly load balancing. And what it does is it looks at it and says, you can make a free transaction. And if you're not holding any Hive, you can make a couple. And if you make too many, you're going to have to wait. So these are the ways that you pay for your transactions. You either have some Hive staked, it's yours, you never spend it, you never erode it, but it is locked up in the system. You have some skin in the game. You want to be here. You will get, proportionate to that, more resource credits. I'll keep track of it. You just do your thing. But if you don't hold any Hive, you can make a couple transactions and then you got to wait. We're going to load balance you based on that. So somebody who wants to make 2 or 3 comments is scrolling around, doing things the way you would normally on the internet. Fine. You don't have to hold very much Hive at all. Maybe not even any. You just won't get to do a ton in terms of writing back to the blockchain. No big deal. But if you, let's say you do, I want to spin up a crazy new game. I want to make 1,500, 2,000 transactions in an hour. You're going to have to buy some Hive. You're going to have to contribute some resources to the network, and you're going to have to indicate some longevity in the network to be able to use the network that way. And so this is really valuable in terms of somebody who wants to, say, have a business. Splinterlands is a really great example. They are over 4 billion with a B games played on chain, 0 fees paid. How is that possible? Well, the Splinterlands game, they actually have something, they have a DAO, but they are holding a ton of Hive. And that allows them to broadcast tons of transactions. So this is a business model for them. They hold Hive. They have their revenue streams through their card games. The people that come play Splinterlands have no idea They're getting a Hive wallet account. They can pay in whatever crypto they want, but they enter the ecosystem. And this is sort of a flywheel. This is how there is value to the token. And at some point, if you say, you know what, I'm becoming a hermit and I'm going to go live in the woods and I no longer want to do this, you could power all your stake down. You can sell or trade it away. It never was eroded in the time that you were using it. You get it back. The only thing that you are, trading for is I locked it up. I locked it up for a period of time. So you can fall anywhere on that scale. How badly do you want to spam this blockchain? How badly do you want to make these transactions? Do you think what you're doing is valuable to someone? Are you willing to bet on that? That is an open question. We have some people who really just, they want to make a cool bot that responds to anytime somebody makes a comment with, beer, it will come and it will have a cool cheers clinking gif. Cool. But you're going to have to put some resources behind that, or people are going to have to like it and interact with it. And that's where that proof of brain comes in. It's totally fine if you want to add AI content to the chain. Is it going to resonate with them? Are they going to like it? Are they going to upvote it? Is it going to earn? Maybe not. And so it really comes down to matters of taste, communities, trending. And you may find, hate to say it, the idea that you had or the content you had just didn't take off. And you can keep making it for you. You can use Hive as this immutable database. Some people literally write letters to their family in the future that they're going to hand the account over and just say, you can go through all this. I created it. Look at all the dates. That's a personal thing. And for other people, nope, I'm here. It's a business. I'm treating it like a business. Just like I hustle on YouTube, I'm going to hustle here on every Hive platform. It's voluntary. You'll come back to this discussion over and over again. Everything is voluntary. The system basically looks at it and says, absolutely, how badly do you want to make this transaction? Are you willing to pay for it in the long term? Cool. Opt in. Get some tokens. If you don't like them, you can sell them again later. But if you want to do it now, that's what you have to do. And so it means that somebody who doesn't have the money to buy in can start out with a couple comments, make a few friends, earn a tiny bit, power it up, start to make more content, more posts. And we have a lot of people who have done that, who have worked up from zero. I myself started out that way. It was not probably until maybe 5 or 6 months into Hive that I actually bought some. I earned everything. And for a lot of people, that also really helps them understand crypto in general. I earned this. It's kept in a wallet. It teaches me about keys. I have to keep it safe. There's so many things that when you're doing it incrementally and you're doing it with an action, a social action or a gaming action or whatever, a task, it teaches you more effectively than somebody just saying, go on an exchange and buy it and put it in your wallet. You're missing a lot of the context around why am I doing this thing? And if I need help, I'm on a social platform and everybody's doing the same thing as me. I'll just ask someone. So we have these incredible communities where people bring in their grandma. And all of a sudden we have grandmas like abuelas in Venezuela, sharing recipes and earning enough to, feed themselves for the week because
I love it.
they
That's
shared
fantastic.
a banger empanada recipe.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I think that's
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. The whole thing of you can have a voluntary based free system
Yeah.
that has a smart logic for the financial incentives behind of it, so you make it sustainable at least. Or it can be attacked, but it costs, and it's not going to happen that
You're
much
going to have
because
to
it's not
pump
profitable.
everybody's bags.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I love that. And interesting, I was reading non-crypto related thing, different news. I think it was last week about, book authors. And sometimes when there's plagiarism or somebody copies part of their book and launch the
Yeah.
book. And it's a huge legal battle to prove this and to prove that you were the original, you were the one creating that, you were the original creator.
Yeah.
And immediately I was thinking, if these blockchain platforms were the social blockchain, the decentralized social, were more popular, people would already put pieces of what they were creating at a time, and it would be easy to prove. No, I've been doing this for 2 years, not 2 months, and here you go. It's on a blockchain.
And you
It's
can do that with
timestamped.
any information on Hive. And some people are. I know of an author who is releasing his book episodically on Hive for exactly that reason. He's like, I'm not really caring about the publishing aspect. I want everybody to see it, and I want it to be recognized as mine over the dates. And I have a silly example, but for me, it's very relevant. You can tell, I'm wordy. I write like this as well. I write really flowery exposition. And I use an M dash, and I always have. And so people started being like, oh, you use AI. And no, 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 no. Go back in my Hive history more than 9 years ago. You will see in my article in the raw file, you can see that I put that M dash in. I have date verified, key verified, hash transaction that I can give you attributed to me that proves that I use that M dash. I'm a writer. They trained that shit on me.
Yeah, exactly. Get AI to prove that they didn't copy you.
So it is. It's an interesting concept, and it can be done with any information, which is why everybody goes, all transactions should be private. And in today's age, no, there are certain things that you will want voluntarily publicly
Disclose.
attributed to you in
Yeah.
a way that anyone can verify against you. Um, and the difference is, did I choose to share this information? And did I choose to share it with everyone, or did I encrypt it and am I, sending it to them in a wallet in an encrypted message end to end, only us? That's fair too. But these will become really important. The flip side of the privacy coin. We need privacy in everything, and it should be first and top of mind. But what we decide to make public now should be solely in our own hands. And they go together. The more private you are, the more difficult it is to prove something publicly. I don't really care. I'm keeping all my health stuff private, but also if I'm sharing, a specific anecdote, I don't want to have that locked behind with the other information. I want that at the forefront. I need to share this story with everyone. And I don't want to do it through a platform that will gate it or will put ads on it or whatever. So these things really do go hand in hand, and they're really important for, the same discussion. Again, but it's voluntarism. It will always be your choice to do whatever type of transaction you do.
Yeah, that's the way to go. I can relate to that when talking to like older aunts or uncles, and sometimes they're discussing privacy, and they say, "No, I'm a very private person. I don't want any hacker getting into my life." And then I like to explore this angle to say, but you don't need to be private about everything. They're not
Mhm.
just need a way in. You need to be private about sensitive stuff that like medical records or financial access to your accounts or wallets. And then it's okay, but how do I pick? I don't understand what a hacker can do, right?
Yeah.
But I want to. The other thing that also connected me is I think we live in a world that most people don't know how much financially illiterate they are,
Yeah.
and it
That
would
was
be
me.
same. And I went through business school, but I learned a lot more about finance after learning more about Bitcoin and blockchain in general.
Mhm.
Um, And I think that we also live in a world that is very confusing. The generational abyss is getting larger, but most of the people anywhere in the world is living paycheck to paycheck. They figure out I have this bills to pay. I just need to figure out a way to get paid enough to cover my bills.
Mhm.
And we lost this thing that is kind of back to our primal ages of you get paid because you created value somehow. You
Yeah.
invested either time, effort, you know,
Yeah.
manual work, brain work, whatever you did, attention, and then you get paid for it. And I think
Mhm.
it's good to have systems that bring us back to this to understand sometimes maybe I'm doing a work that is more valuable, but I'm not being valued enough. Or my hobby can, instead of bringing advertise profits to other platforms, can be a side gig for myself, what I do already for fun 2 hours per week.
Yeah, absolutely. And you really you touched on a big thing there, which is um other platforms have minimums that you need to hit to become monetized because they have to make money to, pay you money, which is fair. There's nothing wrong with that business model. And there are those business models existing on the Hive blockchain. The difference is everything lives at the base layer. So you will choose, I want to go through this platform, and I like their ads because they're really cute and fun, and they are relevant to my content, or this platform has no ads whatsoever. But if I choose, I can pay for specialty interface or specialty tools. This one, completely free, and it's actually open source, and I run my own instance, and my own website actually is just pulling content. All of those things are possible. Your information held at the blockchain. What are you willing to pay fiat for? That's where businesses come in. People that want to play Splinterlands, they are going to say, hey, yeah, I'm going to pay a couple bucks. I'm going to buy a card pack. I'm going to, start playing. Oh, but now I have a Hive account and I'm going to write about my live streams of my game. And oh, I earned a little Hive. Oh, and all of a sudden, all of these things are interconnected. And that idea of seeing things as valuable, Hive kind of trains people to do that again, in that because you're not forced to go into your wallet and take a physical dollar bill and hand it to someone. You wish you could, but we all were feeling the pinch. When you're in an ecosystem that says, hey, yeah, like, listen, we have a small reward pool and we want to make sure more people enter our economy, pick pick the stuff that resonates with you because it's valuable, and we'll distribute to that. All of a sudden you're starting to think, what do I value? I like funny jokes, I like beautiful pictures, I like travel content, I like food reviews, I like trading online and reading charts, whatever. All of this exists, and the value that's in it is tied back to a human, and somebody else might not find it valuable, but you do, and you can engage with it. And there's this reminder that these are the things that make the world go. Especially now, you think about any social media, social selling is huge,
Yeah.
whether that is affiliate marketing or it is just promoted posts. You get paid by a brand to, but the reason you do is because you have taste. You've created some sort of parasocial relationship. We look to other people and we say, tell me what you like because I need something. I need a recommendation. Every aspect of our life touches this. And it's before money ever changes hands, before crypto ever changes hands, there is a meeting of people and value is transacted. It should be recognized, and it is by every successful large conglomerate business in the world. But in a lot of cases, it's predatory. So how do
Yeah.
we build the infrastructure to allow people to do this, but also allow them some autonomy and some ability to enter that marketplace?
Well, I'll tell you what, I truly believe that it's hard to predict how fast it's going to happen, but I think this is the next thing. I think
Yeah,
what you just described is where we're going. Might take a
100%.
little longer to get there, but it's a natural, just as, I don't know, almost 20 years ago, social networks were taking over, and a lot of people since the start were saying, yeah, but this is, fueled by ads will take over. This is not going to be such a pleasant experience anymore when it's not balanced, and it will lose balance over time
Yeah,
because eventually the financial incentives are not in the right place. So I spent some time a couple of years ago with Lens Protocol and Farcaster, mostly
right.
on Farcaster. And I do remember 4 or 5 years ago, some others that's where I remember Steam, like
Yeah.
6 years ago, but some others that I was trying to find out the names, uh, kind of simultaneously with, I think, Jack Dorsey leaving X
Mhm.
and Blue Sky. And there's, I think, Noster, that's running on the
Yes,
Bitcoin
that's Bitcoin.
blockchain.
Yeah.
The, and I love that since early in this conversation, you mentioned one of the big issues that we have is that we have these multiple platforms and they don't integrate well. Like it's hard. And we say, oh, it's on blockchain. And for somebody that doesn't live in this universe, they think everything should communicate and should be easy, interoperable. It's not.
Yeah.
And because it's kind of startup mentality, everybody's trying to build a new thing in a proper platform that works, that has a complicated tokenomics, that is enticing enough to invite people in to change the mindset of people that everybody's somehow a creator or a builder and they should come and dedicate and understand and try to see if there's use for their own wills and wants to come to this platform. But we see, well, Farcaster recently was sold, Lens shifted over the last couple of years. I feel like most of those big names that we heard of 5 years ago, they are not even around anymore. It's hard to find. Hive is around for a long time. You're involved with this for a long time. But I think we heard a lot of the inside history. But how
Mhm.
do you put this in this environment with, how do you see the competition happening? Do you see this competition being something that is pushing everybody forward, or actually kind of having what we were saying, like a net negative at the end?
Yeah. So the caveat being here that I'll throw it out because I haven't yet. I talk about Hive and I often talk on behalf of Hive, but I'm also just one face in Hive. So when I express some of this type of question, which is largely opinion based, a lot of it comes from deep knowledge and experience in the ecosystem. But I can guarantee you there'll be many people who would have a totally different viewpoint. Now, with that being said, um, some of the largest problems with social up to this point have been, yes, the economics. And a lot of it is because in ecosystems where you're on the base layer, that is an expensive base layer. So a lot of these EVM, let's start there. A lot of these examples were built EVM. Revenue is a must up front because you literally can't build something that engages with the blockchain because your fees are eating away at your business all the time, let alone your users, like you. So that started them behind the ball. And in a lot of cases, we had this sort of ICO boom, and we had the, oh my God, make everything a token boom,
Yeah.
which we're only just coming out of now. And so there's novelty that you're like, we know we need this, but the new meta is this. We're gonna bang them together, and we know we have to get a chunk of revenue, and also like how do we pay ourselves? There's lots of stuff that sort of created the things that we got. And I would say if everybody were attacking it again today, a lot of the applications would look different. But there's still misaligning incentives. You pointed out the word incentives, and I love that because everything to do in crypto is about aligning incentives. It doesn't even working in a free and open source ecosystem. A lot of it's altruism, a lot of it's personal intrinsic motivation. But you can have a selfish desire to, I want to do well, I want to make money, I want to build cool code, and I want to help the world. And it's where those things intersect that the good stuff really happens. So if you're starting too heavily weighted to one or the other, you're going to run into a problem. If you're too revenue motivated, you're going to basically suck everybody dry and turn them off. If you have no revenue or no plans for sustainability, you peter out and die. So Hive is somewhere in the middle, but you will see like the fact that we haven't, we're this sort of unkillable dino coin, I like to say. And I saw us referred to as one of the cockroaches of the crypto world, which is actually here. It's a absolutely a compliment. You can't kill us. Bear markets don't scare us. Price sucks. It's terrible. It takes resources away. But with friends are friends. Stuff is stuff. We're just going to keep going. But that doesn't always translate to wider adoption. How do we grow faster? Because speed matters, momentum matters. That's how things take off. And so you will see this is where Hive is now. We're slowly starting to kind of say, well, what do we do about that? Because we don't have a founder, we don't have a Vitalik, we don't have a company whose sole job it is to like rake in VC money and then deploy it in a hype cycle, which we now know doesn't work. But it does for a minute. This is also harmful to the ecosystem because social's been tried. Look at all these beautiful sites. Oh, they all died. Social's dumb.
Yeah.
We don't have some of these resources. Everybody is contributing. They're building apps on their own or they're contributing to open source code. And so the ecosystem remains incredibly robust, but it doesn't grow as fast as we want it to. And so you'll find that a lot of the ecosystem right now is really discussing, what does marketing look like? How do we become a little more, how do we learn from these corporate competitors? How do we start taking a page from their playbook and saying, hey, we've got all this stuff and you literally can come use it right now? What does visibility look like when everybody loves using a social platform, but you have to go to other social platforms to bring more people over? That's really difficult. And so, this is where I was saying Hive has its challenges too. We've got so many questions answered and so many cool things coming. And then we have the opposite problem of many other blockchains. The difference is we've got a sustainable foundation, layer to work from that allows us to keep trying. And so here we are 10 years later. And growth has always happened. We're seeing it, but it's slow. And this industry hates slow. Crypto hates slow.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting for us. But a lot of it is the conversation, we're in the right place now. We've seen a lot of iterations. One of the ones that I was thinking of is friend tech. And that was you turn yourself into a coin, you convince all your friends to buy, and when the price goes high enough, you dump on them and you use all your friends as liquidity, and then you have no friends and then the platform dies. Like, it's such inhuman behavior because we're thinking of it as crypto. We're not thinking of it as value. We're just thinking of it as money. Money works in the spaces that value happens, but it can't be the only concern. So, the way that I'm actually approaching it now, and a lot of the work that I do, is I'm reaching out to communities, other coins, other chains, other platforms, games, Web2 groups, and just saying, hey, listen, we've got some features that slot in with what you're doing. Come check them out. And that's been really exciting because a lot of people are starting to realize, oh, I can use blockchain tools. I don't have to change what I'm doing. I could still absolutely love Solana. I can, share my ENS name on Hive, and anybody who, plays Splinterlands against me can come, whatever. That is where this is going, is chains that do things really well can start using Hive as a backup layer, as a verification layer. Things that aren't very feasible or are difficult or require a really complex contract or some form of, you know, eh, sort of attack vector because there's, I don't know, some counterparty risk in a contract, let's say, can use an aspect of Hive. And all of this can be under the hood. It could be in one game, it could be in one website. It could, be the way that you log in and take an identity over to another chain that doesn't handle identity, just money. I want to do some DeFi trading and I want to attach my snarky shitpost history from Hive to it. These are the things that can happen. And that's what is going to happen, honestly. It will be the builders that stick it out, who are open to understanding that the crypto space as it stands now, while it feels big to us, is incredibly small. And
Yeah.
the perception outside of the space is not great. So we have to go out as a group, united, and just say, hey, we actually have really fun stuff. Like, yeah, the more we work together, the more fun things we'll build. Come and join us. Not basically bringing people in by telling them, come to the casino, maybe you'll get lucky. It's not working.
Every time there's a payday and a deadline to either accrue some profits, whatever, from certain investments, or there's a payoff day.
Yeah.
If it's a very short timeline, it's not enough to build. Right?
Yes.
It's gambling. It's not investing.
Yeah.
And if to build something new and innovative, and actually to have this community energy and art and value accruing over time, it takes time. Especially if you think about, a lot of these people, like you said, are doing it in an altruistic way or doing it as a hobby or a free time, but they have, most people do 9 to 5s, or at least
Yeah.
something that takes their time, and they cannot be dedicated to work 6, 8, 10 hours a day on the code to find new problems to solve until it gets perfect. And then we have an amazing technology, but not many people use it.
Yeah.
Um, as you were talking, a few things came to my mind. I think I forgot who was, but one of these behavioral economic scientists mentioned that our brain works in two ways when it comes to interactions. It's either social or transactional,
Yeah.
and we
Okay.
have a clear distinction between those. So if something is purely transactional, we treat it one way, it feels one specific way, and we see dollar signs related to that, and that's it. It exists.
Yeah.
If it feels like social, but then there are dollar signs around, it doesn't inspire trust. And
Yeah.
social should be social, even if there's value being exchanged, but it doesn't need to be purely transactional. The other thing, and this is where I wanted to connect to other chains. Yes, I listened to many founders in the past say that one of the big issues with Web3 industry in general is that we're mostly building for ourselves, not for the rest
Yes.
of the world. So we keep trying to build new things and get new people to join, get new users, get new community members, but we are tackling a very small sample of the world population. Instead of, like you said, connecting with Web2 solutions, connecting with whatever is already there. And this brings me to, I think that especially for creators, uh, um, especially for digital creators, digital builders, what takes time is the creation itself most of the
Yeah.
time, or at least it shouldn't take time to post or to interact or to reply to comments. It's a part of it. We understand. A lot of people actually outsource it,
Hmm.
and because sometimes it's boring, so they want to have a third party taking care of that, understanding their branding or their identity, whatever it is. But if the creation itself is what takes most of the resources and the time, once it's ready, getting into, if it's a video, to get it through several different platforms should be simple.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be necessarily one unique click, but you open 4 tabs, you got the same file, you wait for the upload, and there you go. And if we show this to people, we'll get more people to try it out. Like YouTube keeps growing. It's still there. A lot of people are trying. The other thing that I've been seeing this more and more, and I don't know if it's so clear, but I'm seeing influencers wannabe getting products and reviewing products for free because
Yeah.
they want to be hired for that. So they create the content, they do the ad for the brand without being hired or being paid from the brand to do so, with the hopes that the brand will find them out among millions of people doing the same thing and say, yeah, let's sign a contract and you're safe for 1 year at least. No,
Yeah. It's a really interesting change. And a lot of this kind of just reflects that advertising budgets don't look the way they used to. Everybody thinks about an ad and they're like, it is a spot on TV. It is a pop-up on my browser. And it's actually, we consume more ads than ever before, but a lot of the time they're integrated in our scroll, or they are a tweet that was not, marked as an ad, or it's somebody who, yeah, I was given this product and now I'm going to review it. And you watched one of my videos and liked me, and now you're trusting me. And it turns out that, I've just, somebody gave me this pen for free and now I'm going to shove this pen on you. And it's interesting because the people who are winning, of course, are these companies because they're no longer paying you in fiat. And it becomes more cutthroat for creators because, yeah, I got the free stuff and I would have spent money on it, but it's like I still didn't make money from it. Um, and that's really hard. And the money that my success depends on me flogging it to you. If you don't buy, they're not going to trust me again. And so the whole cycle becomes, it's a dark pattern, right? Social media has been shaping us since it started. We've been learning there are dark patterns that we shape people's behavior through repetition.
yeah, and a lot
And
of.
that's tricky.
Can I make a quick parenthesis to this?
Yeah.
Because unless there's something else that I haven't come across or don't understand, but a lot of people don't realize that in order you need proper attribution all the way for whoever is you want to be paid, whoever you wants to pay you for that ad, to
Yeah.
understand that you are the one in charge for that 0.5% increase in sales that week. And usually these attribution links or people, I do it myself. Sometimes I come across a product, I don't buy it at impulse. I'm usually trying to avoid that.
Yeah.
Then I remember about it the next day. I remember the product. I don't remember the creator
Yes.
in many cases. So I go directly to the brand store and
Yeah.
buy it there. And
Yeah.
that creator, unfortunately, is not attributed to being the one that brought this sale to the brand.
Yeah. Yeah, and so there are ways of doing this, imagine for a second, okay, well, I can see every like, or I can see comments, or I can see engagements that the creator's drawn out on video content or written content or whatever. Um, but even then, a lot of this kind of comes back to the world is changing whether we like it or not. And a lot of this is now baked in. And a lot of it comes from these changing financial models. And a lot of it comes from the fact that like everybody is pushed to be a creator. The only way to earn or the only way to engage or the only useful person, like, yes, we want clientele, we want somebody who's going to buy a product, but the only useful person is the person in the middle, the person who's, sharing this product. And so there is heavy competition. You get a bunch of people who shape their content very specifically to pander in the hopes of getting these deals. And most people never do. But what happens is all content starts to look the same. And I will say this is largely video content, and Hive holds all types of content. But and does a lot of financial stuff, but this is the track we're in. And that's problematic as well because you are constantly racing against the Mr. Beasts of the world. You see what's possible, but you can't get there. And so now you're working harder and harder and harder and harder for nothing. And the expectation is that, well, I either make it to his level or I don't get monetized. And you're willing to attempt that. Whereas ecosystems where you can earn a little bit all the time, you could be consistent, you can work your way up. You can just grab a niche. You can go on Skate Hive, which is a really cool like counterculture zine. You can share your skate videos and stuff like that. And they actually have physical skateboarding shops all around the world who accept Hive. You like it's a very cool parallel economy. You can enter it, you can engage with it at different levels. You're already kind of target marketing. It's very different than these big platforms where everybody has to grab the newest Timu viral product, make the same thing, and hope that they get the next little dribble of payout. It's a bit bleak. It's not terrible, but it's one of the reasons that we see short form content has risen so quickly, why X is full of promoted tweets, why we're just being shaped by this. And so again, it comes back to the places where money and content and relationships can be a bit more natural and there's still a recognition of value. Both sides of the equation, somebody consuming is just as important as somebody creating. You can't create into a void. These are places where people are able to stick it out a bit longer. The trade off is, yeah, you don't have any one Mr. Beast in this platform because there are no minimums to hit. The very first post you make could make you a couple bucks. And you could have no followers at all. You could have just gotten a like by somebody passing by and then they still decided not to follow you. They're different. They both have pros and cons, but one allows you to kind of do things that feel more natural or engage with people more authentically. And in a lot of cases, I mentioned brand ambassadors early, we have other communities or products or whatever that come to the Hive blockchain and activate our users and they become brand loyal because they were spoken to a place that they like in a way that was equitable. They maybe earned a bit for it, but at least there was this ability to voluntarily choose. And it just keeps coming back to that. And so social shopping is an aspect of Hive. There's a thing called YVO. You can create affiliate store market fronts. Like, hey, here's all the things I like. Instead of doing it through Amazon, you could do it through Hive. There's lots of sort of branches from this, and it'll keep us forever. But the long and the short of it is starting to fight some of these really decaying loops that we see in traditional media and bringing them back to, hey, you could just post something here and then syndicate it to all platforms if that's what you want to do. Or we have a lot of people who write a post and then use RSS to send it to their blog and then to their Twitter and then to their da 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 da. These are ways of just covering it all off, having that immutable, record of it, building a history, but also still engaging with other platforms. We don't want people to move away from the places they are. We just want them to discover new places.
To try it out.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I do think that the Web3 consumer experience is the best that it is when things are right, when the UX
Yes.
are in place, when everything's working, when there's a system that it's been running for years and creators are staking and their staking balances are still there, easy to access, not losing value. Um, and I think that's the question. That's the invite. That's the invitation to leave open. People are doing the hard part already.
Mhm.
Publishing, the more places you publish, the better. So experiment. I remember seeing people that had their 9 to 5s during the week, but they wanted to craft shirts or they have their products or their skateboards, like you mentioned. And where do you test it out? Because sometimes even to start selling things on Amazon or
Yep.
Temu, it's hard to start. Or like I said, to get monetized on YouTube, you need to reach some minimums, it takes a long, long time and dedication.
Yeah.
It's hard to experiment. So maybe this is the way to get people to experiment if they did already the hard work.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And we have lots of people like Naomi Brockwell. We've got quite a few recognizable names who just syndicate back to Hive. It's not their home base, but they recognize, okay, yeah, my content's going to go there too because there are people over there. But I mean, the big goal certainly is allowing people to understand that there is really functional, no fee instant money here. There is an economy that you can enter voluntarily and you don't necessarily have to buy in and you can help distribute it to new wallets to make it more decentralized. And there's a lot of fun games and social stuff as well.
Perfect. I
Yeah.
wanna. Okay, I'm gonna. There's something that there's one more there's one more topic that I want us to get. I'm going to compile this together because I think it fits. I want to hear how you're seeing, how you're experiencing the current state of the market. And I know you've been around for a long. This is not scary for you. Ups and downs are a part of the game. Um, and from everything that you described, it's not. It doesn't affect Hive's ecosystem in a bad way. But the current state of the market affects a lot of people's
Yeah.
moods and the time that they have to dedicate or the choices that they need to make with their lives. But I also want to hear, because I'm certain that you understand this better than I do,
Mm,
what's happening with decentralized socials and social fi? Where is it going with everything that we're seeing? And this, how to describe this comet called AI taking over. It might explode, it might merge, it might just, be a revolution. And we just saw Moltbook, and I'm still trying to understand Moltbook and some other. I think I'd seen already some similar other things that came after that.
yes.
How are you looking at it? What's any juicy thing or any
Yeah. Yeah.
disclaimers or warnings that everybody should be paying attention to?
Well, it's a very open-ended question. Well, so yeah, you know what? I'll tell you, like the market sentiment certainly does affect Hive. There's no doubt. But it doesn't necessarily drive our core builders away, because they were building for a different reason to begin with. And the people who have built successful businesses, like again, I'll bring up Splinterlands, but there are so many. There's lots of games on Hive, but they don't care. They're still playing the game because the game is not built on just a token. It's fun. And it doesn't matter, like, yeah, oh man, the dollar value went down, but I gotta play one more game. There's still some value there that's beyond the market. But the other thing is, when the market is bad and the price is low, and it is, people come on the platform and they complain. They have a feedback loop. They could come any front end, any Hive connected front end. Some are, about travel, some are about food. There's a financial front end called In Leo that is like really focused. We can post about anything, but the traders love to go there. And they complain their faces off. But they don't leave because they have a place to continue
Yeah.
complaining about it. You know what I mean? Like
Feels
that's
like
just
home.
part of
Yeah.
the conversation. So yeah, it affects us, but it doesn't drive community away because they were there for something a little bit more in the first place. And sure, we do. We see activity go down 100%, but it's not like a project that just goes dormant and dies because the money train stopped. They're on to the next one. You've lost them. We don't have that. As for the future and AI, we already have people using AI all the time on the platform. We have some skills were just released. There's a beautiful long form content front end called Peak. Awesome. And it allows you to really have a lot of control over the way that you view content. They release skills for Claudebot. So there's lots of cool stuff that's happening. Here's the deal. You can't escape this. And you know what? For every really noticeable bit of AI content that you can see, there is somebody with access to a new model or who is paying a lot you don't realize. So, this is where the human brain comes in. And you have to basically say, what do I want to engage with? That's a bot, but darn it, I like the facts and it's funny. I'm okay with it. Or, nope, I'm only supporting humans. So, Hive, as the base layer, has a lot of tools that allow for granular social and financial interactions. You can basically drink from the fire hose, which is everybody, everything, all the time, bots, not bots, every transaction, and look at it and interact with it. Or you could say, nope, I choose to use something like Actifit. And it's only people who are running and posting their run logs or in a run log together. And anything that's off topic is filtered out. I don't see it. It's not censored, but it's not pulled into this view. It's basically like looking at a specific community. And everybody can do this. You can shape your communities. You can mute people. You can block people. You can use one of 20 different front ends and they all show the same content a different way. And what it means is you can really decide, I think this looks like a bot or this is a human and I don't like them. I just don't want to look at their stuff. I just don't want to see it. I just don't want to get cool. You can do that. And that's how things going forward are going to be. You cannot turn off these agents, this agentification. You will start blurring the lines between what's automated content. Some of it might be great for you, and some of it you might hate. So granular options that basically say, I can shape my view exactly how I want without stepping on your right to use an AI service or to say what you want. That's the kicker. That's the promise of blockchain and where it meets functional communities and social media. And it is basically that I'm going to use this front end and I'm going to consume and engage with and create this content. And if you are something that excites me or challenges me or that I think is valuable, I'm going to engage with you or, have you in my orbit. If I think you're not valuable and my personal ideology is no bots, no AI, I will just block it out. I will not look at it. I will not engage with it. But I'm not going to take your ability away because for everybody who says no clanker slop, there's somebody who's like, heck yeah, look at these agents. I could watch them all day. Or I'm going to set up a bot to use my Hive wallet to send no fee transactions and to trade my cards for me. Or I'm going to use my bot to make sure that everybody comments on my post gets a little vote and, gets a note from me. Even if I'm not at my post to do it, I want them to feel acknowledged. I'm going to use an agent for that. These are all great options. I don't get to tell you how to use your money. I don't get to tell you who you can talk to. And I certainly don't get to tell you what you can say. But I do get to guard my boundaries. And that's how we work in real life.
Yeah.
That should be how we work in social media. That's why Hive, as this base layer that has no barriers to access, allows anything and everything, but at the same time has so many features that allow you to shape how your financial transactions go and how your social transactions go. It basically kind of allows you to choose versus to have something chosen for you. And so all of a sudden, these patterns that happen naturally in people and communities are voluntary again. I don't have to trust Elon's starter pack. I don't have to say the right thing or else Meta bans me. But some community might be like, ugh, and stop engaging with me.
Yeah.
And that's on me. That's shaped by my behavior and also by theirs.
I,
That's where things are going. And I hope that this social that comes next will recognize that. You can't just say, let's put the orb out there and scan everybody's eyeball. That's gross. Don't do that. Don't be forced into something just to get what you want. Choose the tools that empower you and then build these positive places, the way you want them.
Yeah, I hope that more people out there are just like myself. I like exactly what you described. I want to have the options to filter out or in. I want to make my own choices. I
Yeah.
don't feel good. I don't like when platforms are making these choices for me. And I feel like
Yes.
streaming these days is one of these things. I feel like I can only see things that it's pushed to my screen, and sometimes it's there, but it's not. It's so hard to find.
Yep.
What's next? Are conferences in 2026? Any specific milestone ahead for Hive that we should mention?
Well, we did just do a big hard fork, which was super cool. And a lot of it was around something called the Hive application framework. I'm going to be very, brevity here is very important. But essentially what it does is it allows people to make apps really, really quickly. And they will do just what we were talking about. It's kind of like a configurable table that people can share. So rather than pulling all of the information from the blockchain yourself, you can see somebody's configured a table for certain types of data. I can share that with them, some of it, and I'm going to pull in some of myself and my node, I can share other types of data. The long and the short of it is it basically makes it a lot easier to spin up custom content views, but also from the back end of things, we've got 10 years of history locked in a blockchain. There's an awful lot of information there. It will make it so much easier to use that information, pull it, look at it, display it. So if you are somebody coming in and you have a DApp, a website, you have an idea, you want to vibe code something, all of a sudden it's a lot easier. And it's not very resource intensive, which is a huge problem in some of the big blockchains now. It is miserable to try and run a node for EVM and SVM. Miserable. It's expensive. It's difficult, right? So if we are trying to say, hey, come use these resources, we have to make it easy to use. That is, this past year and years worth of stuff just were released in hard fork. So there will be more to come, but a lot of the focus for 2026 is ease of use and is also bringing resources down because we are in a time where memory costs more, storage costs more. Well, we're on-chain storage and we don't actually need a lot of memory. So You can run a Hive node, it's going to be coming really soon, like alpha, but literally a block production node from a phone, which is in a lot of cases has always been cloud mining. You're not doing anything. No, this will natively be like when you want to run a Bitcoin, light node on a Raspberry Pi. So things like that. That's unheard of in a blockchain like ours. Lots of cool stuff for that. But yes, we will be at some conferences this year. The list is expanding quite a bit. I know that if you're going to be out and about, I will be in Consensus in Miami. We will be in Germany a couple times later in the year. We'll be in Poland. We have lots of stuff going on in Latin America. The long and the short of it, if there's a place you want to see us, you can always reach out and we will probably have somebody there. The joys of a global community of users.
I love that. Yeah, I'll probably be attending to some of those, so I'll stop
Awesome.
by, say
Yeah.
hi. Glad that you brought that up. Any specific takeaways or main message for listeners? What should people keep? What's the one-liner from this conversation for people to keep in mind?
Whew, that's tough. 2 hours in one line. Hive is a set of tools and a mentality of people. It's where we gather, it's what we build, it's the connective tissue of blockchain. You shouldn't spend your value just to be able to transact value, and everything you do is valuable. Treat it that way.
I'm convinced. I'll spend more time on Hive. To be honest, I'm being fully honest. Well, okay. With that, how people get involved? We'll put all the links on the description. But you mentioned Hive.io.
Yes, so that's our main website, hive.io. There is a page there that says ecosystem, and you can browse through some of the dApps. So, depending on, I like to tell people, what do you do on the internet? That's probably where you're going to start. If you're a gamer, there are tons of games that you could jump into right away, free to play. You don't necessarily have to pay up front. If you just want to read cool content, you'll find a bunch of front ends. There is InLeo, Ecency, PeakD, tons of them where you can jump directly into content, wide ranging or short ranging. Lots of cool video platforms. 3Speak, Snappy is like an Instagram feeling visual, like mobile dApp. Lots of cool stuff. That's probably the easiest way because if you want to get a Hive wallet, you can do it through any one of those. So pick the thing that engages you and get onboarded through them. Otherwise, you can find Hive Keychain, which is one of the best wallet solutions. Or I will give a shout out. Obviously, Biconomy now has Hive trading. You will find us on almost all major exchanges. But you don't necessarily have to get a token to start, and that's unique. So go to hive.io. You'll find wallet solutions, you'll find dApps, and you'll find something that feels right, your entry point that'll bring you in. But definitely pick something that intrigues you more than just the money, even though your transactions will be completely feeless on Hive and are instantaneous. No more waiting and panicking to see if you got there. And I will say, because we didn't touch it in the whole conversation, Hive wallet addresses are human readable. You don't have to go mint an ENS or an SNS. My wallet address is at CrimsonClad, and everybody on the Hive blockchain chooses a username. It's how you're seen, it's attached your history, and also that's how you send money and messages to people, which is super cool and a lot more user friendly.
So human first.
Human first.
That was amazing. Crimsons, thank you so much. This was a very, very fun conversation and enlightening. There's
Likewise.
A lot to unpack here. I hope that everybody will digest and experiment and go to Hive.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep an eye out for you.
Well, thank you so much.